Hey, it's Viv.
And Raf from B&C Camera. And in this eye-catching episode, we'll be giving you guys some tips and tricks in order to capture those beautiful macro eye photographs.
They say the eye is the window to your soul. It's no wonder why so many people are intrigued by taking macro photographs of them. They offer beautiful and mesmerizing shapes and colors, often even giving a kaleidoscope look.
As always, if you haven't done so, please be sure to give us a like and subscribe so we can continue to provide you guys some quality tips and content. Alrighty, first up, let's go ahead and talk about the recommended camera settings. As always, in order to get those enchanting macro eye photographs, you need to consider your camera settings. Keep in mind that these are recommendations, not rules. Use these as a starting point and then experiment with your camera to see which settings work best. First up, let's discuss ISO. The proper ISO will reduce the amount of noise in your images. Adjust your ISO manually for super sharp photographs. If you're in a bright environment, start with an ISO of 100. When you're in low light conditions, you might need to increase your ISO to 800. The higher your ISO, the more likely it'll have digital noise and grain. In terms of aperture, use a narrow aperture to get that eye in focus. Start by using an f8 and work your way up. Steer clear of wide open apertures that will give you a shallow depth of field. Unless of course that's the look you're going for. Most eye photographs have the eyes as sharp and tacked as possible. For shutter speed, you want to keep it anywhere above 1/60th of a second. Of course, the higher this number goes, the darker your image will be. Unless your subject is prone to constant winking or you'll need a fast shutter speed to capture the eye when it's open, you can keep it at a relatively slow speed of 1/60th of a second. Now that we've gone over some of the general camera settings, let's go over some tips and recommendations. First up, consider investing in a macro lens. True macro lenses will give you sharp photos. A regular lens will not work and only focus on a certain distance. Macro lenses are akin to a magnifying glass, and it will allow you to get closer to your subject while retaining a clear image. Well, what do you do if you don't have a macro lens? There are a few alternative options if you don't have access to a macro lens. You can use extension tubes, bellows, or reverse rings in place of a macro lens. These are accessories that can be attached to your lens that you're using.
Make sure the eye is well rested. Eyes are sensitive. Ask your model to rest unless you're going for a tired-looking and bloodshot eye. You want your model's eye to be stress-free to get the whites of the eye to be white. If you plan on including the whites of the eye, activities that can be strenuous to the eyes should wait until after the photo shoot. So scrolling through TikTok is a no-no. You can also have eye drops on hand to alleviate any red veins. The eye can rapidly move at any second. Make sure your model can hold themselves steady for a good amount of time. On top of having a steady model, you need a steady hand. Use a tripod to avoid hand movements. If you plan on doing this with your infant or younger kids, we wish you the best of luck. Never forget your lighting. The lighting condition you're in can make or break any photograph, no matter the genre. You'll need some illumination to guarantee that plenty of light is hitting your subject to get all the iris's details. You don't want your model to stare into the sun and damage their eyes, even for a good shot. A shaded area that has excellent light is ideal. A softbox diffuses harsh sunlight. Stay away from flashes and strobes that can make your model involuntarily blink. And last but not least, keep whatever light you're using to the side, and it will prevent unwanted shadows. You still have the post-processing step to redeem your eye macro photo if you aren't 100% happy. Following these recommendations should result in a great photograph, but a few tweaks can take it to another level. Experiment with your white balance, brightness, and contrast to help highlight the iris's details. If you want to draw out the colors, use the vibrance and saturation tools. Remember, do not overdo your edits. There's a fine line between a gorgeous photo and an unnatural and over-processed one, unless that's the look you're going for. The key to capturing an eye will always be to stay as still as possible. Regardless, the recommendations above will help you capture a macro of an eye, the window to someone's soul. Hey Raf, don't you think beekeepers have the prettiest eyes?
What makes you say that, Viv?
Because beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Thanks for catching the video, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. See ya.